Welcome back to the One Step Journey, episode 12.
Episode 12.
Episode 12. However, this is 1 year of our podcast.
The 1 year anniversary.
Coleton and Jeffrey.
Episode 52 of podcasting together.
Yeah. Wow. And you can't see it yet, but those who are listening, we have a huge guest here today.
Literally.
Huge. Yeah,
Literally,
huge
physically huge.
guest today.
Guest.
His name is Steve Morris, my boy from Whitewater, Wisconsin. Played football together. He made the trek down. We appreciate you, bro.
Appreciate you coming in, brother.
Appreciate you guys.
Pleasure meeting you finally.
1 year.
1 year, bro.
1 year.
Crazy.
1 year.
That's crazy. I remember when you guys started, so it's cool to be a part of this, and I know we are going to get into the attempts, but yeah.
Yeah, right.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, 100%, bro. Absolutely, man. Yeah, I mean, we can jump right into it, bro. We've tried to connect for like 2 other times previously to this.
Yeah.
And I know the first time you had just moved, right?
Yeah,
Something
new
like
crib.
that?
Yeah, new crib,
Yeah.
for the family. Needed some more space, so it's
So that was back in November, right?
it was just kind of a tight schedule at the time.
Yeah.
As you know now.
Yeah.
As you know now.
I know best. it's
good.
It's tough, man.
Yeah,
it's
right
tough. But, I think everything has its way of working itself out, and,
Amen.
we don't know when it's going to be. I mean, we tried the second time, and unfortunately, there was another barrier there.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
we don't need to
work.
get into the weeds of that.
Yeah, work. Yeah,
Work. We can leave it at
the
that.
details out. Yeah,
Life
just work.
happens.
Life happens.
Right on. Yeah.
But here we are, though, today. It's a beautiful day.
Beautiful day.
Wow.
Awesome.
It's
Awesome day.
Awesome day. And, we're blessed to have you on here, man, because there's so much that I know we're going to get into today that we're going to talk about.
100%.
But on top of that, it's good energy in the room, right? I think
is.
that's the biggest thing with some good people. And, there's a lot too within your story that we'll get into that I think is going to resonate a lot with our listeners and what we've been on with that one step. So, I'm really excited about this, man. So, just a quick backstory. Steve and I met, it would have been the summer of 2012. Played football together at Whitewater. He was the second person that I met at Whitewater. Ever. I'm not
Behind
ever.
who?
Was that
Behind who?
the one and only, the Marcus McClin, Boo DB3.
Shout out Boo.
Shout out Boo, baby. And it was awesome, man. I remember meeting Steve. We were at what was the apartment you were in? You're in 2012, or maybe Boo was in one of those apartments. Or you guys roommates?
You know what? I was never a roommate with Marcus, but if I was a roommate with Derek Jonikin at the time, that was on Prince. We were self-proclaimed the Prince is on Prince. So
Prince is on Prince. I
It's
love
a beautiful apartments that were just built. Expensive though. I look back on that now. I'm like, could have saved a penny or two.
Yeah.
But yes, man, we had a lot of memories in that apartment.
Oh man, I love it, dude. I love it. But yeah, so when we met in 2012, both played receiver at Whitewater. This is a fellow zero right
7
here.
and 8.
Let's go.
7
and 8, baby.
Come on,
7,
man.
number 8.
Let's
That's
go.
how it was.
Listen,
It was awesome,
Lightning
man.
and thunder.
we did the dirty work, man. We were the
12B, baby. 12B.
12B.
12 block. But anyways, so Steve and I go way back, and it was we played football. We played for 2 years. We played 2012
for sure.
and then 2013.
Yeah, man.
Steve had played from 2009 to 2013 or 2000.
So I got to Whitewater in 2010.
2010,
And then I
sorry,
played,
2010.
Played through 2013 season. Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
And had just a little bit of some success at Whitewater.
Yeah,
Not
man.
much,
Yeah,
a little bit.
Just 3 national championships.
Just 3.
Just 3. That's
So
it.
nonchalant with it. Just
Yeah.
3.
Just 3.
Just
3
3.
rings.
Should have had 4, but we won't talk about that year.
Or
Still
will we?
hurts.
Or I think we will. I think we might have to.
All right.
So yeah, I mean, and that kind of leads into like our first question, right? So at Whitewater, 2010, 2011, I mean, we're some very, very historic teams. 2013 was another historic team as well that we were part of together. 2012 was a year of building, right? We had a little bit of some challenges, but I'm curious though. So you came in, they just had one national championship, and then you went back to back to win a 3-peat.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
And then we go into 2012.
Yeah.
Right? And you and I know what happened. Jeffrey knows what happened. We talked about it on the last episode. But I want to know a little bit about what were some of the trials and tribulations going from having all this success to a really unfortunate, at Whitewater standard, not a good year.
I think the biggest thing that was different about that is it was like expectations.
Mm-hmm.
There's one thing to expect, but there's another way to like do the work. Like if you're not doing the work but you're expecting the results, you'll never be successful.
Right.
So I think the biggest thing is we kind of went into that year and winning so many games and in a row, like being I think it was 45 games in a row. I mean, you start to get comfortable. And I think some of the things that you're doing to get to that prestige, you kind of stop doing. And I think it was kind of just one of those things where you expected to win. You go into the ball games, you're like, oh, like I think our loss is Buffalo State, right? We lose by less than a touchdown, but it was one of those things where we're sitting here like, did we just lose to these dudes? Like, and it was like, because we expected to win. And it was just kind of the standard when you're at Whitewater, like you're going to win,
no
10 games. You're going to go to the playoffs. You're going to play Mount Union and you're going to win another championship. And that was kind of the way that it was just the dice rolled when you went to Whitewater. You kind of knew what to expect. And that year we kind of just came in and I think we thought we had pieces that weren't the correct pieces. And we you're playing uphill. Because you're not doing the things you were supposed to be doing to get to where you're supposed to be.
Yeah.
So
100%.
Yeah. That was a tough year. It was a tough year because it's like you're so let down. And me, I wanted 4 rings. I don't know about anybody else. I wanted 4 rings.
Absolutely.
So yeah.
I think that's always the goal, right?
Yeah,
absolutely.
Right.
I kind of want to unpack this a little bit, right? Because we talked about it briefly on the one episode where we talked about the winning and the losing and things of that nature. What was the off season like that year going into it? Were you guys practicing hard, training hard, expecting it, or were you guys kind of coasting because you had so much success leading up to that?
Man, and I'm trying to think about what because it's a blur. I think I look back at Whitewater and it was football,
so
school, and then it's done, right?
That's true. Yeah.
I think for me, that off season was weird. I was in a relationship at the time that I probably shouldn't have been in, and I ended up spending my summer on Mackinac Island. Right. So there's no cars on this island, like taking a horse to work. Like it was weird for me. And I'm not doing the things that I need to do to get ready for a national championship run. Right.
Yeah.
Because I'm expecting that we're just
expecting it's just going to happen. We'll show up, we'll put the pads on, we'll win.
Exactly. I'll get ready in August, you know, kind of that thing. So my off season did not look like anything like a normal football preparation off season.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of the same thing, as a whole. I don't know if everybody prepared to you're not, when you're winning, you're not preparing to get beat
for the other
right?
side.
Right. So you're expecting to win and you're not grinding as hard as you probably should be. So my off season definitely looked different. I was there from, May until beginning of August, end of July. On an island with no weight room. I'm kind of just going through the motions. I'm working. I'm riding a horse to work.
Yeah.
I'm doing everything but playing
everything
football.
but training.
Yeah. I don't think I caught a football until August, right? Get to camp. I was super out of shape. I remember running my 300-yard shuttles. Dude, I was probably throwing up before I stopped the first one, right? So I'm super out of shape. Heaviest I've ever been playing football. I was probably like 205 at that time. And I usually played at like 185, but I was just eating and kicking and not playing football, not running routes, so a very irregular offseason for me, know, and that's, peer pressure to do that to you. You being in a relationship, you kind of get comfortable, you see it with these dads that get married, have kids, and then they kind of fall off and they're not in the gym, like taking care of themselves.
You start to lose kind of sight of what you should be focused on and the overall goal.
Yep. Stop taking care of yourself because you're taking care of something else, right? So I think it was just like a lack of focus, lack of preparation that kind of led to that 2012 season. And I look back now and I'm like, man, that was a rough go. Yeah. Because it's like you're dealing with not only like losing, nobody wants to lose, at least at Whitewater. But then you deal with the criticism and everything that comes with, and like
everybody's talking about they fell off, they're done, dynasty's over.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely, they did.
Yeah,
it was crazy.
Yeah,
it was crazy. And then after that year, right? We go 7-3, which I think in some people's eyes that's a great year.
We lost to Stevens Point twice that year.
We lost to Oshkosh Point, and then what team out east?
Buffalo State.
Can't believe we lost at Stevens Point.
Yeah, it was.
Was that your first year too?
That's my first year. That was my freshman year. Right. It's crazy.
Sick.
It was.
He's 45-0, like 45 straight wins. You're coming in expecting to jump in, go undefeated, get the natty, have fun,
have a ring,
and it's the opposite.
Well, and I'll piggyback a little bit on what Steve said, because coming in as a freshman, right? You're expecting to win, right? That's just what it was. You have arguably one of the best coaches in D3 ever. I mean, in Lance Leipold.
Shout out Lance.
Literally, shout out to Lance. And you're just have all these guys that are transfers come in from D1, D2, like guys that can
Booker
play.
Stanley,
I mean,
Umaro,
guys, everyone,
right.
Jay Howie, everybody.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think for me, it was like, I don't know, there's something like looking back, like something didn't feel right. Because after you experience 13 and 14 when we won, something was missing in 12.
You know what it was? It was a sense of urgency.
It was.
Attitude.
For sure.
You didn't have a sense of urgency.
We didn't.
And it was like, again, you become like, oh, top dog, we're going to win. Like this 3 in a row. And like everybody was like glam, like we were just real glammed up.
Yeah.
Everybody was like, these dudes won 3 back-to-back. Like then the baseball won, basketball won. All these teams are winning, right?
All over
the same
place.
year, right? So it's like this school is just known for winning.
Just winning.
And it's like we forgot what we did
to get
to
there.
win. You know, and that it's a good reminder. Sometimes you
is.
need that smack in the face, you know?
You always need to be humbled sometimes.
Amen. Amen.
Yeah. I mean, and then that happened, and I think it was the best thing for us, right? I think kind of go into, 2013 year, you're going into your senior year, right?
Yeah.
So, like, what was your mindset going into, like, we just finished 7-3. We don't play on Thanksgiving like we have been for the last 3 years.
Yeah.
What's your mindset going into the offseason? Because it starts before Christmas break.
Oh, for sure.
Right?
I mean, that last game, when you're walking off the field, I think 2012, I was thinking like, man, something's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it's now we kind of got a sense of urgency. I think we started to get our swagger back towards the end of the year. Matty B steps in, right? You know, we're seeing that we got a guy at the helm that can get us the rock, right? So now I'm refocused, I'm re-energized, and I think it's one of those things where you start to get hungry again because I'm like, okay, this is my last go. I got one more shot at this, and I was like, I don't know about you guys, but we got to go out on top. I can't like I got 2 other rings. Like I know what it feels like to be there, you know, and like having those older guys, myself included, like lead, Coleton. Yeah. Right. We got to be the guys that show them like this is what we got to get back to. This is how we got here, and we're not going to go back. So it was like taking ownership and leadership again, and letting these young guys know like, hey, we're not messing around. Yeah. Like get your shit together, or you're not on the team. Like we're not going to deal 100%. With that. We don't have time to dick around. Like so. Yeah, and then we smacked Mount Union my senior year, right? I think we put 52 on them.
Did the
right?
job,
bro. It was such a good feeling, man.
Yeah. Left no questions on the field.
Yeah. No, literally.
Like game was over at halftime, and we could tell like when you beat somebody so bad, they're just defeated.
You can feel the energy.
Yeah, 100%. And I was like, hell yeah! Like I knew at halftime, I was just geeked. Yeah, I'm like, I got another ring, go out on top, and like to be on ESPN and like know like you just smacked them. My senior year, like that. Just man, full of joy.
After the 7-3 the year before,
full of joy, yeah.
So sure. I got a question for you because I was kind of struggling to find an answer, and I know so was Coleton the other episode when we were talking about winning and losing. Yeah. What life lessons do you think comes with winning?
With winning?
With winning.
I think the biggest takeaway from winning, I would say, is like satisfaction. Like a lot of times you're getting what you sow. Right, you reap what you sow, and when you're putting in work, 7 days a week, 8 days a week, right? Yeah, that's what it feels like when you're an athlete. It's understanding like the sacrifices that you made to get where you're at, and to know like winning that national championship made everything worth it.
It was all worth it.
Made 100%. It worth it, right?
That's what we both said. Yeah. All the hard work was worth it.
Yeah, and I think so. I had listened to the podcast. But you guys talking about winning and losing. I think you asked a great question about what's more important. When I look at that question, I'm like, I think they're both equally important. But the one thing that I think people don't realize is like you can't quit. Like that's what I heard when you asked that question. I'm like, you need both of them. You need both of them because winning gets you motivated. Yeah. So does losing, right? But it's a different kind of motivation. Now, sometimes people lose and they quit. And I think
most people
I think it's a takeaway that a lot of people like that losing is just as important. Yeah. And you were saying like losing is a lesson, but it like some people will quit when they lose. Like, oh man, I'm not playing no more. Or like you see it a lot of these days. Like as a coach, I see a lot of varsity kids, and younger, even varsity like JV kids who aren't getting varsity playing time, so they quit. And it's like, man, you got to pay your dues.
You got to pay your dues. You got to put that work in.
Like, and they'll just quit.
Fighting for a spot.
They'll just quit. And I think the skin is not as thick these days. Yeah. Which sucks. And as a coach, I've had to change, and adjust to this generation. But I think
how to train the kids, how to coach them,
but
what
motivate
to say.
them, motivate them, right? They see social media has killed a lot of stuff. NIL deals, right? All these kids want to be OBJ.
They all want the OBJs. They want everything to be given to them.
They want it now, right?
Yeah.
And they all think they've arrived. They all think they've made it. And it's like, you guys have done zero work.
Yeah.
Like, you guys were 5-5 last year.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
What are you barking about?
Right, exactly. Like,
you're 5-5, my boy.
Yeah, come on now.
Yeah. It's just, you know, and not to get astray, but I think winning, losing, I think they're both equally as important, and I think they can equally motivate you in a different manner. But I think quitting is the one thing that people need to like recognize is like when you quit, it becomes easier the next time.
It is. It's a domino effect.
It's very easy to like, you know what, I'm not going to do this. And then it trickles into everything else. I'm not going to, that's hard.
I woke up a little late.
Yeah.
Like, I can't do it today,
Not going
right?
to go. Yeah.
Can't go to the gym because I'm a little late for work or work went late and things of that nature.
Yep.
I think the biggest thing that really stuck out to what you just said is that there's motivation that comes from both, right? There's a difference in the motivation on trying to get there, obviously after losing, and then there's a different motivation of trying to stay there.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
After you win back-to-back titles, now you got to stay there versus when you go 7-3, now we're trying to get back.
Yeah.
It's two different types of hunger, but they're equally as important, like you said.
Yeah.
No, 100%.
For sure, man. And I think too, it's like it's you know, I think there's a lot of good things in losing, but I think your perspective makes sense though, right? And I'm glad we're talking about this because I'm curious to know too, like with coaching this younger generation of kids, because you coach high school, right? Or you coach middle school, or is it kind of?
Yeah, I coach high school.
Coach high school.
Shout out Racine Horlick.
Racine, baby.
Racine.
So, I mean, times have changed, obviously, but when you work with, you know, these this younger generation of kids, do you feel that it's easier to motivate them, harder to motivate them? Do you feel like some kids kind of have that like mentality that maybe we've had at Whitewater, or is it different?
I think the motivation is different. I mean, and I don't know what coach. There was a college coach that talks about like, how do you motivate a kid that already has everything, right? You see these high school recruits getting NIL deals and stuff now, and it's like, how do you promise a scholarship? Like, this kid can pay for school now.
Yeah.
So what are you truly promising him? What are you giving him to motivate him to want to win, to want to lead your team, to want to play for you?
That's a big point.
Yeah,
you know?
It is.
And I think it's easier from a high school standpoint because it's like I can tell a kid like, hey, if you want an NIL deal, this is what you got to do. You got to start busting your tail now. Like, if you're gonna expect these things and you want to go D1 and you want to play at a high level, like, you have to get there. Like, it's not just gonna happen. So I think from a high school standpoint, it's much easier to motivate kids, and you can kind of show them that shine. And you know, playing at Whitewater, like, not the biggest school, but I come from a winning background, right?
Yeah.
You know, so I understand, like, you want to win national championships, like, you got to put in the work, like, you know, and being at the bottom of that and then being at the top of it, like, I've felt both. And that's kind of brings you back to that winning and losing. Like, you need both of them. And it motivates these kids, but you got to make sure you're not giving empty promises either. Yeah. You know, because a lot of these kids think that they're OBJ and
for real.
Know, not to diss any kids, because, you know, I like to motivate them, and everybody has their reasons for why they play, and, you know, they might not be the most talented, but I think it comes back to, like, things that you can control, like effort, right? You know, I tell kids, like, it doesn't take any talent to be on time, right? And when they walk up late, like, if you're late, jog, right? That's an effort thing, and that's a life lesson. It's not just...
It's a life lesson,
it is.
for sure.
Yeah, it's not just the weight room, but if you got to be on time to work. You come walking in late, your boss is going to look at you like, bro, what are you
You're going to get fired.
Right.
You do it a couple times, you're done.
Yeah.
Well, I remember, Lance said this. I mean, you know best. If you're on time, you're late. Like, that ingrained in my brain, like, early on, and I learned that. And I was like, what does it even mean? And then I realized pretty quickly what it meant. Right. Just control those small things, because not everyone's going to have all this talent, but if you have hard work, you can at least you can probably elevate yourself to that point in life. You know what I mean? As opposed to the flip side of that, which isn't a positive thing, right? So, do you find, like, within your journey of coaching, do you feel that there's a lot of kids that, like, will take your advice and, like, what you share with them, or do you feel like there's some kids that still need some like maturing to do?
Man, there's I would say the majority is, like, they don't take the advice. They kind of hear you, and, like, when they're with you, love it. They eat it up. Then they go home, and then they're late the next day, right? Yeah. You know, and you're like, come on, man. I will say there's kids that are there that are working, and, like, it shows. You know, it shows in the kids that are doing the things in the games and putting the stats up and really like they putting the work in, and it kind of pays dividends. And it using those kids as an example, I see has motivated more kids to kind of like stay after.
Yeah.
You know, and kind of like do those extra things like stretching and hydrating and asking questions about nutrition and like just doing those 1% things.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of kids don't do that, but I always tell them and I preach like the sooner you start doing the 1% things that other people aren't doing, you're going to start to see that separation factor that starts to happen. And you're like, okay. And then once they see that, it's kind of like, okay, now I'm motivated.
Yeah.
Now I know, and I can see it now. I'm getting better. Right.
Yeah.
So I think giving the kids the ability to see their progress and their progression, that's kind of what motivates the high school kids.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's so hard. Well, and I think too, like it kind of piggyback into, let's go back a little bit here to the 12 off season, get ready for 2013, right? Like 2013 or 2012 was tough. We had a lot of like missing pieces and maybe some of that like urgency that we talked about, right? I mean, I felt like going into that off season, like once we got back from Christmas break, that urgency was there, right? People were buying in, people were really learning. And I think too, and I'm curious your thought on this, being one of the seniors. I felt, and we think we touched on it a little bit, was the leadership. Yeah. People emerged into some of those roles. Right. What do you think was one of the things that kind of held us to that like Whitewater standard again to get back to winning those national championships?
I think it comes back to kind of what you said, just with the leadership and like being vocal. I think a lot of times in 2012, there wasn't like that guy who was like, let's go. Yeah. Right. You know, I feel like, especially after we lost to Buffalo State, it was more of like, who's going to be the guy?
Right. Just looking around, like who's going to be the
waiting
one?
for somebody,
but someone else. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
And it that kind of like leads you to, you're swinging in the dark. You're kind of just going through the motions and you're trying to win games. And, you get into them tight games, right? And we start to kind of like, when that momentum switch, we don't have the guy who's going to switch it back, right? We didn't have that big hitter. And like I led the team in 2012, right? And I always felt like I had a certain skill set, but I was never like that deep threat guy. I was never I wasn't Jake Kumaro, but I knew that, right? And we needed Jake Kumaro in 2012 to kind of get me open, right? And that's the thing about football is like you need everybody. And when you don't when you're playing kind of by yourself, or you feel like you're the only playmaker, it's like you need help.
Yeah. Right.
Everybody needs help.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So then when you let's go to the summer of 2020 or 2012 going 2013 going the 2013 season. I'm guessing you weren't on an island with horses, right? You were training.
Yeah. He was in the lab.
You were in the lab. Okay.
He was in the lab working.
I was in the lab. Yeah.
8 days a week.
Yeah. 25, 7, 8 days a week. I was like,
And also, it's a quick side note. When was that the year that you and I went down to Houston? Was that the year?
Yes. Yep.
That was the year.
Yep.
I was telling
he was telling
Jeffrey,
me that. Yeah.
The
footwork king.
I was all in.
Yeah.
I was all in. Shout out Rashad Whitfield.
Yeah.
I ain't talked to him in a bit, but
me either, bro.
That's my dog.
Yeah.
Man. Him and JB.
JB, man. JB's funny, man. No, but it was it was a good year.
What a time.
What a time, man. But so 2013 summer, you're working your ass off. We're getting ready for camp. A lot of new faces, right? A lot of new coaches we had.
Coaches, man. You know what? Bringing that up, I was gonna say that too. Is like every year, other than my head coach, like I'm pretty sure I never had the same coach.
Yeah, that's right.
Never had the same coach. Like Mitch Moore, loved him.
I wish I had him.
He ended up doing his own thing, right? Which I 100% respect. He's a head coach, doing his thing.
Yeah.
But one of my favorite coaches, he's a player's coach.
Yeah.
Right.
For sure.
And that's like what I got to. And I couldn't even tell you the offensive coordinator who came after him in 2012. Taller dude. I remember he used to always say like throws made his piss hot. Like I still don't know what that means.
I don't know what it means, but if you want to know his name, I'll tell you.
Go ahead.
HT Kinney.
Kenny. You're right.
Coach Kenny.
Kenny. Oh my God.
I got a quick story about him. The first time I met him, I think I've told you this before.
He was different.
He was different, man, and it is what it is. We learned a lot that year, but there was two things he told me. The first thing he said to me. He's like, the way you wear your hat is the way you're going in life. And I'm like, the first time I met him.
Glad I got my hat on forward right now.
100%.
Going forward.
And then I forgot. I was wearing like I think it was like Texas football gear or something like that. And he's like, what has Texas football done for you?
Big fan.
How do I don't know how to respond. Yeah, right. I'm a big fan.
Big fan.
It was just the vibe was not there with that guy. And it is what it is. It's all good. But
Coach Kinney,
man. I hope he's doing well. If he's listening to this, by the grace of God, I hope he's doing well.
Yeah,
seriously,
sure.
much love.
For sure,
much love.
God
but
bless.
then we got Coach Kolenicki, who's now at Penn State. I don't know if you knew that. I don't
Big
think I told
dog.
you. Big dog. He's an OC at Penn State now. He was
Stop it.
offensive coordinator at Whitewater. Man,
Where's Lance?
Lance is at. Oh my God, where is Lance? Lance is.
You told
at,
me
I
whenever
did.
we talked
Kansas.
Kansas.
Lance is
Okay,
at
so he's
Kansas.
still there. So Kolenicki kind of dipped out.
He did his own thing.
Sure.
Coach Borland's still with Lance.
What about what's the receiver's name again?
Hensel,
Hensel.
the man, Alan Hensel. He's the
Big Hensel.
head coach at his alma mater, Franklin College.
Stop it.
Head coach.
Stop it.
Yeah, he's
Shout
the
out
man.
Franklin. We used to bust that ass.
He used to bust their ass, bro, for real.
Who's keeping tabs on all the coaches?
Man.
He knows
me.
everything. He
Not
knows
me.
everything about
Not
everything.
me.
Let me
I
know.
love him.
I'll
I
tell you
love
guys.
him. I love him. Thank you for
100%.
everything. But
Absolutely.
It's hilarious.
But
I got a question though. Circling
go
back,
ahead.
right? So going into the 2013 season, right? This is when guys like Lake Bacher, JD Marconi, all of them
Yeah.
are coming in. What kind of standard are you holding these younger guys to that have no idea the things that have gone on? Obviously, the last couple of years. What is the standard that you got for all these new guys coming in?
I think it went back to that sense of urgency. Didn't meet our expectations in 2012, so it was like 2013. It's kind of like I said before, it's like you're getting on the train or the train's leaving.
There's no excuses.
Right. And it is the same thing, like missing workouts. I think a lot of the older guys were like on bumpers, bro. Like if you're not showing up, like just don't show up. We don't
Turn
need
your
you.
pads in.
We don't
You're
need
done.
you. We'll play with 11 guys if we got to.
Yep.
For real.
It's kind of that was the mentality, and it was like you either got with it or you didn't, and most made the right decision.
How did some of those younger guys take that, like JD and Lake and all them? Did they buy in immediately, or was it a little?
I think they bought in. I would say those are some of those guys that really wanted. If you wanted to be there, you knew you wanted to be there. If
Yeah.
you didn't want to be there, like you were gonna get either outworked or you were just gonna like kind of quit on your own.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I would say the same. I mean, because I was sophomore year. I was going to my sophomore year, so I was still a young guy, but I was there for the 2012, so I know like the whole downfall, turnaround, like you said. Yeah, so I would say there was a lot of guys, especially in spring ball, that talked a lot that they were going to be. We don't need to name any names, but they talked a lot like they were going to play and all this stuff. And it's like you're showing up late to film, you're showing up late to workouts. You can't be accountable. Like there's no chance that you're going to make it. You know what I mean? And I think the leadership at that time did a great job of kind of sifting some of the weak links out and just say, basically, fuck you, we don't need you, essentially, in a respectful manner, I guess.
Yeah.
That is respectful.
Go down by scout team.
Yeah. No, literally, though.
Go practice with them. Like, we don't need you right now.
No. And then, but I think that was an eye-opener for a lot of people because some people, they got it, and some people just fell off. They didn't. And they fell off, Yep. So, I mean, I think that there was a lot learned going into those years. And I think it definitely, I think it did help, too, with some of the coaches change as well.
Yeah.
But, I think going into 2013 was just, there was a lot of excitement. We had a good spring ball that year. We had a good spring ball. Teams, we were clicking.
Refreshed, for sure.
Refreshed. Going into, summer workouts was great. And then we go to a great day. It was the first day of fall camp. First day of fall camp of 2013.
Oh, shit.
And so I'm gonna preface this a little bit, and then I'm gonna pass it over to Steve here. So one thing I love is, especially with that 2013 and 2014 team, we had a lot of the same coaches. Is like the first couple days were kind of light, right? Camp is like 16 days, and you don't know what day it is. You have 15-hour days. It's long days. Like they try to keep it like light until we really hit the ground running. First day of camp, we do our testing, we check in, and then we have like a team meeting, offensive meeting and defensive meeting. Steve was a senior that year, and he was one of the leaders, had been receiver, started the last couple years. And Coach Kolenicki, I believe he had called out Steve, tell us a joke or something like that. Man. And I'm going to pass off to Steve. Man. Am I right or am I wrong with this?
Tell us a joke is crazy.
Am I wrong or right with this story?
No, you're in the area.
Let's hear your vantage point. Talk to us.
Yeah, so I mean, camp started, and I think, like I said before, we kind of were refreshed, kind of like starting to like let the last year go. It's like we're refocused on what the task at hand is, and I think, leading the team and receiving the following year. I had kind of high expectations to kind of come in and lead the receiver group. But we had our first meeting, and it was one of those things where I'm the leader in the room, sitting at the front.
Yeah.
I would say I'm pretty social, so I'm pretty charismatic with the group and
Very
the team.
social.
And, right. Always upbeat attitude. I try to stay positive. Sometimes too comical.
Yeah.
And this is one of those instances where I was just, I guess too comfortable, but I ended up sitting at the front of the room, and we had been going through film and talking, and Coach Cole and Nikki was like, "Hey, let's take a break. Everybody stand up. Someone tell a joke." And I'm just kind of don't pick on me, right? I'm like, don't pick me.
Don't call on me,
because I know exactly, the joke had already come to my head.
Yeah.
I already knew it was in the chamber. I'm like, oh, I'm going to get him
ready
with
to get
this one.
fired off, but Coach, don't call on
and
me.
it was like, please don't pick me, because I got to say it if you pick me. And then, the group was kind of like, Steve, come on, man. You're funny as hell. I'm like, oh, no. Coach K then insisted, was like, hey, come on, Steve. You're a funny guy. Tell us a joke. And we don't, just to preface, I don't know this coach yet, right? This is his first year. So he's coming in, and I don't know what I'm getting myself into, but I'm just kind of all right.
Fuck it.
Let's do it. And I'm like, hey, Coach K, you like fitness? And he's
no.
He's like, yeah, I jog, I run a little bit. I'm like, try fitting this dick in your mouth. And he didn't laugh. I mean, the room erupted, right? The room erupts, and I'm like, I see, I'm not laughing. I did a little chuckle, but I'm looking at his reaction, and I'm not laughing no more. He's not laughing, but the room is rolling.
Yeah,
I'm
rolling.
making it worse, and it's not stopping. I'm like, bro, please stop. Make it stop, And after that, it was kind of I was that racing guy, right? I'm the racing guy.
Yeah.
I kind of get this attitude from Coach K that just didn't end. And rightfully so, right? Probably wasn't the right time or place for that joke.
In front of the entire offense.
Man, but that was the monster I was, right?
Yeah.
I've matured greatly since.
Yeah.
And I think that was a lesson that I took away, was sometimes you just can't say some shit.
Sometimes you can't.
But maybe that joke is what brought the team together. Lightened the mood a little bit and added the cohesion.
Man, listen, that's why we won the ship in 2013,
Exactly.
bro. Thank God for that joke.
Because he worked on his
Thank
fitness.
God, dude.
That's why you guys won. That's why you guys won it.
Stayed in shape.
Oh, man, dude. That was awesome. It just kept everything light. And I think just everyone there's a huge, I think,
The pressure.
relief. No, there was.
The relief.
It
for
was.
sure.
And I wasn't sitting up front, so I didn't see Coach K's reaction. I did not know that. That's actually the first time hearing that Coach K didn't that was a no. But
he started sweating.
he probably
he was just, all right, let's move forward.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh man.
Oh no, not the all right. Let's move forward.
But then again, too, on the flip side, it's he did call on you.
Hey, and I know he laughed about that later.
Probably.
And if he ever hears this, Coach K, I love you. I know he's laughing at that joke now.
I swear to God,
He's probably used it.
He
probably
has over the
I
years.
used it.
It's amazing.
That is amazing, man. So going in 2013, start off in a very light note, which was great, relaxed. We go in. One thing that and I'm curious your thoughts too, and how you apply this to life, because one thing Coach Lance he never talked about winning a national championship,
right?
Ever. He talked about there were three seasons. One was the preseason, regular season, postseason.
Yeah.
Right. How do you apply that same principle, within your life when you're working towards something, or how do you apply that when you're working with kids when you're coaching them?
Man, you know what? That's great. I think right now football has truly taught me that life is quarters. Mm-hmm. Everything doesn't last forever, good or bad, right?
Yeah,
it's big.
And you take every quarter as it comes, right? So having kids, it has really given me that perspective of phases, and things don't last, right? Mm-hmm. You're like, man, this baby's crying all night,
right?
Then it just stops, right? Now the baby's sleeping through the night. And then it goes into okay, now this baby just wants to snuggle me and go to sleep, right? And then next thing you know, this baby ain't wanting to snuggle me to go to sleep, right? Now I'm sad because it ain't, right? So I look at life truly like phases and quarters, right? Football has taught me that life is quarters and it doesn't last forever, but you put in the work in that quarter.
Yeah.
And then, and I know being in sales, you guys, you know that.
Yeah.
So you have to meet certain deadlines and things like that. But I truly take it in phases and understand that everything doesn't last forever, right? And you're just gonna be highs and lows, goods and bads, and if you understand that and you kind of truly embrace it, Sometimes those bad times aren't even bad because you're like, this ain't gonna last forever.
Yeah.
Right. You know, like I know I was going through bouts of anxiety, right? Just with kids, I think my anxiety is like, I've never dealt with that in my life.
Yeah.
But I think having kids has truly like opened a chapter on me of like, this could happen or this could happen.
Like
and
overthinking.
And that's exactly what,
right.
Right. And that's exactly what anxiety is, right? You kind of overthink stuff.
Right.
It's like you're self-inducing this worry that's not even there, that you don't even have to think about. But this is like, for me, I've never dealt with that. And I think having kids is like kind of triggered that anxiety. But I truly have started to like embrace it. And like, I see like my anxiety has left, you know, it kind of like subsides and it comes and goes. But I think understanding that everything's kind of a phase and like, you know, that's not going to happen. And then being in church and like making sure I'm taking care of myself physically and like I'm doing everything right. Right. And as long as you're doing that and you're putting that best foot forward, that's why I love the name of your guys' podcast, because it's like, as long as you're putting one foot in front of the other,
one step,
you're doing all you can.
Yeah.
Let's take one step every day.
Exactly.
Let's not overcomplicate it.
Exactly.
Let's just get a little bit better each day. That's it.
Yeah.
You know, kind of like what you had said, one of the biggest quotes that I love is, you know, nothing amazing lasts forever, nothing bad lasts forever, so let's enjoy today.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
That's simple, dude.
Finding that equilibrium.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And I think football, like looking back on football, has truly taught me that. You know, and again, it's like you take the phases as they come, and the good with the bad, and life is as simple as you make it, right? And I think sometimes people overthink it, or they're like, this should be achieved already, or I should have this, or I should have that.
Yeah, like I'm 28, I should already have a family and a house and all this, and it's like, what?
No, just exactly. Everybody's chapter is different. Everybody's story is different, and it's embracing like the now and the present. And like my kids have truly brought that out of me. It's like I'm thinking about my kids right now, right? I know that they're outside in the sprinkler with their camera right now, and I'm missing that, right?
Yeah.
But I understand also like they need that. They don't need me under them, over them all day,
Right.
You know, and like just being present and watching them play, like gives me joy.
Yeah.
So it's understanding, like, just be present.
Yeah.
Just be present. Like, putting your phone down, like, and I think a lot of people have trouble doing that. Like, they always want to see what's going on.
For sure.
Disconnect to connect.
Yeah.
Disconnect to connect,
exactly.
baby. Yes.
It's the first thing right there.
Just be present. Yeah.
100%.
Just be present. And that, like, once you do that, life is so good.
Yeah.
So good.
Life is so good.
I mean, there's things that you would have normally missed you don't miss now, right?
Yeah,
when you put it down. And Jeffrey's challenged me the last year to be more just present and zen.
Slow
and
down.
Not worry about like so many different changes that are happening. And I mean, a lot of good has happened, but like, you know, the last year has been a lot of trials and tribulations for me. So it's like trying to slow it down to kind of get to that point of just being here, just being in the now. This is all that matters right now. Yeah. Right. It's the acronym WIN. What's important now?
Man.
Right. You know what I mean? That's
heavy.
it.
Come on.
What's important now?
Come
That's
on.
it. Win. So
Might steal that nugget.
Yeah, steal that nugget.
There you go.
Hope all the listeners will take that nugget.
100%, man.
Yeah,
100%.
Man. I you know, in my you know, just walk with God, I look at like my favorite scripture is like, don't worry about whatever's going on, right? Tomorrow has its own worries. So it's understanding like just slow down, man. Just like again, be present. And like I love the disconnect to connect, because for me it's, you know, like I know as a father when my son like is happy, when he's sad, all he wants to do is play. You know, and it's like understanding like when you say hold on or like give me a minute or like that's like denying him what he needs.
His happiness.
You know what I'm saying? So for me it's like I see parents all the time on their phones at the park. Like you could be up right now playing with them, and that's all they want.
That's all they want,
right? And I've really truly like embraced like leaving my phone upstairs when I get home from work. Like I don't get to see these dudes all day. Why would I waste 2 more hours
scrolling
on my phone?
Or whatever it is?
And like for what? For who? For people that like they don't care.
Don't mean anything,
right? You know, at the end of the day, they don't.
Yeah.
You know, like love everybody, but at the end of the day, like what's important is like my house is now a home, right? You know, and the love that all they want to do. I want to be front door famous. You heard that song? Luke Combs. When you guys get a chance, listen to that song. You guys are gonna have like it hits different. Boy, front door famous.
Front door
like,
famous. Okay.
He literally talks about like coming through the front door and like, you know, he's on the road all the time doing shows, but like coming home to his kids and like all he hears is his dad, daddy's home, right?
Oh, that's awesome.
And like being front door famous is like I wouldn't trade that for anything.
Yeah.
No way.
I wouldn't trade for anything.
Wow.
And like my kids light up when I come home. And I think about that and I'm like, I'm doing everything right.
Yep.
right? Brings you back to that, like, I'm here.
And especially on those tough days, you got to remember that.
Oh, man.
When life is kicking you in the
well,
dirt.
and that's the thing. That's the thing. I literally, so you say that, and I'm like, I feel like I don't have tough days anymore since I've had kids.
Because when you walk home, they light
I'm
up.
like,
So
I know exactly
whatever pressures came from work or whatever, you come home and
Gone.
they're screaming.
Listen, they're good. I'm
it's
good.
all gone.
They're
it
good.
dissolves
I'm
everything.
100%.
That's amazing.
So, and I like, I've taken that from football. Like, you know, nothing lasts forever, right? And like when you finish playing football, I don't know if you dealt with this or like you dealt with it. I know you play sports, but like you sometimes find your identity in sports. Like Steve's a football player. I know for sure in Racine, like, you know, I'm always going to be associated with football.
Somehow, some way.
Yeah, exactly. And I like sit here and I'm like, when I got done playing football, I'm like, I'm not I'm Steve. I'm whatever I want to be.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not a football player, right? I played football. I'm a guy who played football, but I'm not a football. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's for me, I like have truly like taken so much from football and applied it to life. Just, you know, living life in quarters, living life in phases, man.
That's
love
amazing.
that. Yeah.
So,
That's amazing.
I think a lot of athletes can really feel that, right? It's like when you finally really retire those cleats, you kind of almost have to like rebrand and refine yourself.
For sure.
Who am I outside of the baseball, outside of the football, right? You're Steve, you're Coleton, I'm Jeffrey. What are we going to do next?
Yeah.
The next quarter, what is it? The next chapter,
Right.
Right?
Exactly.
At least for me, I mean, it was hard though. Like when you're done, because you're in such a routine base, and then all of a sudden it's like, okay, everything's just gone. You got to figure out what's that next step. You know what I mean? What's that next chapter? Like you said, you're trying to put one foot in front of the other. Like, all right, do I want to go to the gym or do I want to go out to this party now? I don't have to be anywhere. Like just trying to find who you are. I think it's tough. So I think there is a lot of, I know of talking to people who have either retired or have played football or sports rather, that they're trying to find, okay, what do I do next now? Because that's all they've known for X amount of years. And then it's like, shit, what do I do? I don't know what to do. Because that's all, like you said, your identity was football.
Yeah.
It was a 365 days a year. So, you know, it's definitely hard. But on the flip side too, it challenges you in life.
For sure.
It challenges you, pushes you to figure things out as opposed to having things just given to you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
You know what's one thing that I think all three of us can definitely relate to, and I think a lot of former athletes can relate to, that we all find afterwards, is fitness.
Oh man,
The fitness journey.
Yeah, for sure.
Wait, are we talking about jokes fitness or actual like?
No, like
I just
actual like
wanna
fitness.
preface
That
that
work,
while we're-
yeah. No more fitting anything anywhere else, right? Besides,
Just want to make sure.
moving these weights, right?
Sorry, but it's had to clear that up. Sorry, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That would've been funny if I would've said
Coach
that,
K's
but-
never gonna forgive me, bro.
He's not. Maybe one day
right.
he will.
It's
You
all
never
right.
know.
But the fitness journey.
Yeah,
It's
no.
all love.
It's
Yeah.
like after we retire the cleats, right? Then we continue to find the barbells and dive deeper into that journey.
And I think football definitely, like sports, instill that in you. Like now for me, it's more longevity. Like I just want to make sure I take care of myself, and like
Amen.
bucket list dream is like being a grandfather, right? And that's a long way off, but it's again that one step of like getting there, that everyday step of getting there. Kind of like your guys' podcast revolves around that, but just making sure I'm doing everything I can, eating, you know, going to the gym, making sure I'm instilling that in my kids as well, right? You know, I don't think I truly started hitting the gym until after that 2013 or 2012 season, right? And that's when I really like locked in on the weights and footwork and like realized like, okay, if we're gonna win, like we got to start to kind of grind for this, you know?
Yeah.
But now I make sure my kids are like ahead of the ball, and like the way that my son eats, like it shows. It shows because I you know, not to say that other kids like are out of shape, because I don't think any kids are out of shape. But like my son is super lean, but he eats chicken and rice and broccoli, right?
And he loves it.
He's eating what I eat, and like he doesn't complain about it. Like I ask him what he wants to eat, like he's either gonna give me two answers. He's gonna say chicken, rice, and broccoli, or he's gonna say Culver's. And I know because we have cheat meals and then we don't have cheat meals.
Yeah.
And that's like where he's at with it. And I look at him and I'm like, this kid is
amazing.
He's on the way up, right?
Yeah,
That's so
100%.
cool.
So
That's so cool, man.
it's hilarious, man. Yeah.
So do you feel like at that point, you kind of just touched on it, like 2012 going in the 2013 season, is that when you really transcended your journey within the weight room? Do you feel like that's kind of what sparked that? Because I know
100%.
now you do a lot of training, you do coaching. Talk to us a little bit about like after that season, what kind of got you going into that phase of life within the fitness industry?
I think just really locking in and like you find like what you're passionate about. And I think it even spins back to just talking about progress. I think progress is something that like truly motivates people. And if you can see the progress, it just motivates you that much more. And I like seeing a lot of progress, you know, between my junior and senior season where I'm like, okay, like all I gotta do is put the work in, right? You know, and I say all you got to do is because it's not easy, right? It's a consistent game against yourself, right? But then I started looking at like, okay, I have to like sculpt myself, right? And I'm not really I'm a amateur bodybuilder, right? I would call myself like a self-proclaimed bodybuilder, spit it out. But I would say I wouldn't even call myself that because I don't really bodybuild per se. I'm more so I'm going in and making sure that I'm symmetrical and like I'm taking care of every muscle, right? And that's kind of like that mindset of making sure I have that longevity of my knees are good, my ankles are good. And I'm like, you see all these ex-football players, ex-athletes that deal with low back problems and like those are things that I'm making sure that I'm going to push off for as long as I can. Yeah. Right? You know, and I want to be that grandfather that walks in the room and they're like, who's granddad is that, right? They're gonna instead of granddad, they're gonna call me granddaddy, right? 1,000%. Right? You know, that's like where I'm at with it, and I want to make sure that I'm him when I'm a grandfather, right? I want to make sure I'm playing with my kids, and I want to make sure I'm playing with them just like I'm playing with my kids now. That's kind of my goal. And it's very motivating, but it's also one of those things where it's delayed gratification, right? Which is what all weightlifting is. And once you realize that, like fitness is so much easier. It's because you start to like take it a step at a time. You start to do all the little things.
Focus on the now.
Yes.
Yeah.
100%.
Focus on this one
You're
workout.
present in it. Exactly.
Yeah. Well, I know Jeffrey talked about this. Gosh, this is probably episode like 3. He's like, he just wants to, he wants to like look good naked.
Oh,
that's all
for
he
sure.
wants to do.
Yeah, for sure.
Honestly, I mean, I feel like that's another benefit too of working out.
Have you been thinking about that?
Plead the fifth. No, I'm just kidding. But
it's true though.
I agree. I agree. I like, you know, I have a beautiful wife, right? That makes me laugh. I have a beautiful wife, but like, you know, I want to make sure I can still catch her looking, you know, when I can go to bend over to pull that weed. Like, oh, okay, I see you looking at you checking out the dump truck. I see you over there, like, you know. And I think it's vice versa. I think my motivation in the gym motivates her to also go and you know, we want to be in shape for each other, but we also want to instill that in our children. And I think it's a full circle thing. A fit family stays together, right? We're gonna stay healthy and
stays healthy.
I think it also teaches that delayed gratification in the kids, right?
Totally.
Which is huge. Which is huge
nowadays.
Yeah, it's
for
huge.
Sure.
Because it's like if you want to
gotta earn it,
achieve this, you gotta work for it.
You gotta work for it.
Yeah, man. So I agree.
That's the biggest thing. I know you probably get it because you're massive, right? People are always the younger generations are always asking like, what are the tricks? Like, how do I do this? How do I get as big as you? Or how do I get there? My answer is just stay consistent. Stay consistent.
It's a simple answer.
It's a marathon.
It's
simple,
not a
sprint.
But it's hard.
No, you're not wrong though. It's
simple. It's hard. My advice to that too is like,
keep working.
People love to go to the gym, love to hit you up when they're super motivated. When that motivation goes away, it's like, well, now why are you getting up at 4? Why are you getting up at 5? And then they kind of lose that. And I can't tell you the revolving door that I've had with people who like, can I work out with you? You know, and I'm always like, yeah, come on. Like, you know, I'm going to put you through it. I'm going to put you through it. But I can tell you that so many people fall off. And it's after they lose that motivation or they see a little progress and then it gets hard or they get an ache and pain. And then it's like,
Well, I think kind of what we talked about early on with the podcast, I think one of the things that's the most important is finding your why.
For sure.
Because on those days where you're not motivated, you think about that, right? Like you want to be the granddad playing with the kids and all that. You know your why.
For sure.
And if you don't have that on the days that the motivation is not there, you're going to find excuses. You're going to quit on yourself and you're not going to go.
Yeah. It's all about that discipline, bro.
Yeah.
Discipline is everything.
Discipline. Yeah.
It's tough though, like you said. I mean, because like you said, I think the recipe it's there. Everyone talks about it, but no one wants to follow it because like you said, it's hard. And and life happens too sometimes, but ultimately too, we all have the same 24 hours in a day.
Man, and I think it's so easy to give yourself excuses.
Totally.
I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do in the gym.
Just go.
You know, I didn't eat good, so I'm just not today. I don't need to work out.
Yeah.
Or I worked out yesterday. Or like or I'm gonna just go tomorrow.
It's
right?
a laundry list.
You can always find an excuse if you're looking for it. But it's like have that discipline.
Hate excuses.
Close the door.
Do it or you're not going to do it.
Close the door.
Yeah.
Close the door on it. And a lot of that, like, you know, I think personally for me is like spiritual, right? I know, like, I'm motivated, and I know I got to take care of myself, and I think a lot of people get that like heaviness of like anxiety or like, what if it don't go right, or like, it's just like, bro, get that voice out of there.
Yeah.
Your self coach has to tell you to get up, and that's why like I love David Goggins, but I also like, not that I hate him, but I think that there's like, you got to be able to do that yourself. Like I could bring you to the gym. Right, I can lead a horse to water, but you
can't force it to drink.
You got to take that sip. Yeah. So it's one of those things where it's like, you got to get up, get that little voice out of your head, and say, you know what, I got it.
Yeah.
You know, and once that clicks, I think that's even with athletes that I coach. Like, once that little voice gets you out of bed, and you're not late, and you're kind of passionate about what you're doing, kind of like you're the why, and like it's not even happening why, but it's like, this is what I got to do. Get up.
Yeah.
You know,
it's a lot of those internal conversations, right? And
Yeah.
you have to have those internal conversations and look yourself in the mirror and ask yourself, how bad do I want it?
Yeah.
And if you're late every single day, well, I'm sorry, but your answer is you don't really want
Exactly.
it. Because if you did, you'd be here 10 minutes early, you'd be ready to go when the clock hits 8.
Stretched up, ready to go.
10 minutes early, 10 minutes late.
Because we all know when you're excited for something, you're passionate about it. Like when we used to play
You
basketball
wake-
at 5 a.m.,
You
I'm
ain't
up
need it. You
before
don't
the
need the
alarm.
alarm. You
Yeah,
don't
I'm up
need
and
the
I'm
alarm.
jumping
Go.
out of bed.
Energy's
Yes.
there.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of kids too, it's like, you know, they're like looking for the right answer as opposed to just doing it and figuring it out on their own.
Yeah.
Right. I think that's what people ask. I think people scroll for the motivation on, you know, Instagram or TikTok or YouTube or whatever it is. I think that's okay at times, but I think sometimes you get so engulfed in that as opposed to just taking that step and doing, because we all know if we really think about it, if we take a second to just sit by ourselves with nothing, we all have the answers we need in life.
For sure.
We all have them. But
For
there's
sure.
so many distractions that we keep talking about that we forget, or we don't want to accept that, hey, I need to do this. They're looking for someone to tell us to do that.
Yeah.
When in reality, no one's going to come tell you to do it. You just have to do it yourself.
Yeah.
And that's what I think is tricky for a lot of people. I mean, I think we're all guilty of that to some extent, but we have to realize that when no one's coming, we got to put in the work and just be consistent. That's it. That's it. Just to break it down.
Yeah.
You know? But it's hard though.
I swear, E.T. the hip hop preacher is my
your
favorite
guy.
guy forever, and I love him. And one of the biggest things he always says is it's easy as athletes to go in the gym and do the reps, put up the shots, you know, catch the footballs, whatever, when coach is telling you to do it. But what are you going to do when no one's watching?
Man.
That's it.
What are you going to do when no one's watching?
Inky Johnson too. You know,
Ooh,
Shout out
Inky.
Inky's another guy
Ooh.
too.
Shout out Ink. Yeah.
He said, I'm sorry, doctor, but you weren't there when my mom was, you know, picking me up after Wendy's and I'm running in with them car lights.
Right.
He wasn't
Listen.
there sleeping with the roaches and rats.
Listen. Yeah.
Oof, Inky gets me going, bro. I got goosebumps.
12 to a bed, right?
12 to a bed,
Come on.
bro, with the rats and roaches.
Come on. How bad do you want it, bro?
Wow.
And I think that is subtle, man. I think a lot of kids always want somebody else to do the work for them. Like I heard you say that. You're saying like nobody's gonna save you. You know, and I think that's a huge thing because it's like nobody's gonna work hard for you. You know, you need to get up. You need to do the work. You need to make sure that you're on time and eating right and you're not needing to be babysat, right?
And that's on you.
Man.
Always will be.
100%.
And it's hard. I think when you realize that and understand that's how the world works, I think this opens up this new level. This new level that opens up.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's hard. And for you, I'm just curious. Like what point in your life did you realize? Like how old were you when you realized no one was coming to save you?
Man, you know, I think I had waves of it early, just in like through high school football. You know, like I just knew that I had to do the work, and I got a lot of hate early. Just in high school football because I was a quarterback who, you know, they didn't always scramble. They weren't dual threats. Like Mike Vick was pretty much the only dual threat to like a couple other guys, right? But I think I was so inaccurate and I wasn't a great passer early on in my high school football career. And like I just got thrown in at quarterback. So it was like a lot of the parents, you know, I'm hearing all the heckling. This guy needs to play running back, put him at receiver, move him back to deep, like bunch of stuff, right? And it's like as a 14, 15-year-old kid, I'm kind of like, man, this is tough, right?
Yeah.
But how do I improve? And I kind of was like, you know what? I got to do the work. Nobody can throw the football for me, right?
Yeah.
Nobody can make that read for me. So I think I started to kind of pick up like, okay, I got to do the work. And I did, and then I was successful with it. And I think it kind of like I've always had a good upbeat attitude.
Yeah.
You know, I've always been pretty positive. So I think a lot of it was kind of just like, okay, I need to find the grit though. I need to find that grit of like being a dog. Right. And I know that's so cliche and I think about it now and like I'm the dad from Bluey. That's the only dog in me now. But like as an athlete, as a football player, right? Yeah, shout out Bandit. But as an athlete, like I had to kind of lock in and like realize like there's gonna be haters. I have to prove them wrong. And I think that was my motivation for a long time in high school. And then, you know, you have some success and now it's like, okay, now what am I working to achieve? So it's like always having another thing to work towards. Yeah. And it goes back to that playing in quarters, right? You got to understand like life has its ups and downs. Life has the different kind of sessions and different seasons that you're going to be working for different things in. And once you understand that is like, that's your why. It's temporary, right? But understand like there's a long-term goal of whatever that is to be a great football player, right? Now I'm a 3-time national champion, but it was like all the work that I did behind the scenes kind of was like fueled by those week to week, right? Kind of what Lance talks about the phases, right? You know, in the seasons, chapters of the season. So it's like constantly being motivated, which was good. But then once you get out of that football, now it's like, okay, now what's my motivation, right? And now it's like as a employee, right? I'm a school teacher, special education, right? Now, what's my motivation to be a great school teacher, right? Right. But that is, I think, a lot of the issue in the just the world is like it's so self-serving, right? And as a teacher, you can't be self-serving. You're a servant leader, right? So it's like you have to understand, like my job, like my responsibility, and not all teachers. But I think, you know, I've seen good teachers, I've seen bad teachers, I've seen amazing teachers, I've seen terrible teachers. Right. Right. And I think the one equal thing is like you have to understand your reason why. And like you're serving, you're not serving yourself though. Right. And it's
you're
like,
serving the kids.
Exactly. Exactly. And it comes full circle because it's like, okay, now why am I working out? Like, yes, it helps me. But what is the true reason now? I have people looking up to me. Right. And I think that's for everybody. Like, yes, we want to look good naked. Right. Yeah. Right. But again, we also have people in our lives that we're here for. And we're serving these people. To us. Exactly. Right. And as a salesperson, right, Jeffrey, you have to go in and you have to look a certain way. If you look kind of busted coming in and I'm looking at you and you don't take care of yourself, how are you going to take care of me? Right. Yeah. Right. And I think that is the motivation in being fit and making sure we're doing the things that we need to do now on a day-to-day basis because it is a longevity game. It is. You have to make sure you're presentable, right? Lance gave me the best advice when I was at Whitewater, and it was, I'd probably say 2011. It might have been my second season coming in. And I'm pretty sure I had like a hoodie on, right? I'm from Racine. You know me, right?
I do.
Still, I was like, you take me out the hood, you can't take the hood out of me, right? And a lot of people don't get that because I'm very presentable. Yeah. It wasn't always that way. But I look back and now, and like Lance was like, you have to treat every day like an interview. And it resonates with me because it's like, if you do that, imagine you wake up every day and you act like you got an interview. You know that job you really want. Wake up every day. A longer
shower. You wake up early.
Man, I'm trying to get clean. Tie. Right. I'm presentable. Yeah. And that's how I look at life. That is how I look at life. Because if I wake up every day and I treat it like it's an interview, I'm going to look damn good.
Yeah, right.
Every day I'm going to look good.
You know what I'm saying?
100%. Buttoned up on the P's and
man,
Q's.
Come on. Yeah. And you're going to come in, you're going to be presentable, you're going to talk how you need to talk. Yeah. Like, you don't, like, when you're doing all the things right, you cross all those T's and you dot all those I's. Come on. Come on. There's no choice you can't be successful. No. You just have to put that foot forward every single day and, like, treat every day like an interview.
That's deep.
You never know who's watching. You never know who's listening.
You never know when the opportunity is going to come.
The younger generation, man, they pay attention.
Stay ready.
To everything that you say, everything that you do.
Stay ready so you ain't got to get ready.
That's right, bro.
So I love that. It's so true. And I think that's, we go back to that 2012 year. I think it's one of those things where, like, we thought we were ready. Right? You know, but you got to stay ready.
I told y'all you weren't.
Got to stay ready. Yeah, come on.
We weren't ready.
Come on, listen. No. That was a fun year, though.
That was a good year. That was a good year.
A lot of lessons that come from that.
Yeah.
You know, for sure.
Yeah. But so I think, I think there's so much more that I think that we could dive into.
For sure.
Really
I want to dive into faith so deep, but we'll save that for the episode too, man. I got so many questions.
Yeah. Yeah. No, for sure, man. And
that's a roller coaster.
Yeah,
in itself,
write them down.
Man.
I got you, man.
No, there is, bro. There is, man.
We ain't even talked about the broken back yet.
Oof.
Yeah, man.
talk about.
There's a lot of life in here.
A lot of life in here, man.
Wow.
Oof.
Wow. The broken back. We got, I think, I'm sprinkle some nuggets here. Possible career change at some
Yeah,
point.
man.
We got
Yeah.
a lot to talk about,
Yeah.
man. So,
Kids.
yeah.
Yeah.
Kids,
Man,
life.
listen, yeah.
We've got a lot more
There's
to
a lot
talk
in
about,
there,
trials
yeah.
and tribulations.
Gym.
We talked a lot about
We
winning,
didn't even
but
get
not
into
really
the
much
gym yet.
losing today.
Yeah.
And I know all of us
Oh,
have done our
man.
fair share in life.
Man.
So
Listen.
There's been a lot, man. There's been a lot. I mean, I think right now, I think this might be a good place to kind of just leave it dangling there a little bit.
dangle the carrot.
Yeah.
That's
Dangle
what I do
the
in
carrot.
my job. I was like,
Right.
get people excited, I dangle it, and then we go in
Dangling
and close
it.
it.
Yeah.
They make
Yeah, I
Then we
fed
close
reindeers.
it. Get
I
those
fed
signed
reindeers
papers.
in Alaska one time.
Huh?
Dangling carrots. I fed reindeer in Alaska, bro.
Yeah?
Yeah, man.
That's
Really?
amazing.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of life.
He
in here.
actually dangled the carrots.
Yeah,
I'm talking
that's what
about
I'm saying.
You were out
figuratively.
there?
Yeah. bro.
Where's my invite? I didn't get invited.
Yeah. Where's
Family
my
trip.
carrot?
Come on, Zero.
Family trip. You know?
Family
Bro.
trip.
It's hard enough taking care of 2 kids in the wilderness, bro. You talking now? I gotta
couldn't
watch
even
over
imagine
you, bro.
that.
I can't imagine
It's
it,
scary.
bro.
Grizzly
Yeah.
bears, bro. Listen, we'll
Especially
talk
in
about it next
Alaska.
time.
Yeah, we will talk about it next
Especially
time.
in Alaska, bro.
Wow, we
It's
got a
crazy.
lot. Dang, bro.
I fished in I couldn't tell you the river name, but it literally connected to the ocean,
With the salmon?
bro. Unreal. It's
Oh my
unbelievable.
goodness.
I can't surrounded by mountains, and then you're finding bare footprints like on the ground, like.
You guys were actually
You
fishing,
ain't
caught
lived-
salmon?
Yeah, you ain't lived,
You
bro.
ate it?
Yeah, bro.
Oh my
Wow.
gosh. Best fresh.
I brought home 22 pounds of salmon.
Jeez.
Yeah, shipped
Probably
it
the
home.
best salmon you ever had in your life.
in my
Bro.
life. Fresh.
Damn.
Don't get no fresher than that.
Alaskan wild caught literally does not get any fresher than that.
Now
That's
I'm really
crazy.
upset I didn't get invited, bro.
Yeah, sorry.
So am I.
Next
I didn't
time.
even know you, but I
I'm
should have
going
gotten an
back.
invite, brother.
I'm
Like,
going back.
Yeah?
So, yeah.
When are you going back?
when are we going back?
So
Sorry, when are we going
Our
back? All
plan is to
three?
hit what is it, Juneau, Alaska? Or our plan is to hit like a whale cruise. So I don't have a specific date, but I'll make sure that I send an invite. Yeah. That'd be
That's
sick.
amazing.
I want to hunt elk too. So there's a lot of layers, bro. I'm kind of
You
like
hunt a lot?
I'm like an onion, bro.
Yeah?
There's a lot of layers, right?
There is a lot of layers.
Shout out Shrek.
We just peeled off the skin on
Come
that.
on,
we
yeah.
didn't
that's
really
it.
dive too deep, man.
Listen, the people who don't know.
I'm a deep kind of guy.
I know.
I want to get to the core of that onion.
We will.
I want my ears or my eyes to be watering from all the
Listen,
cutting and
Just
the
wait.
layers.
Soon enough they will be.
Yeah.
Soon
I
enough
got
they
you.
will be with
I
this
got
guy.
you.
Let's go.
No,
Good.
man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Honestly, though,
This
man,
has been great.
Thank you so much for
No,
coming
thank
down here.
y'all,
We really
man.
appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate
It's
you,
long
my guy.
overdue.
Yeah.
Listen.
Episode 52, the 1-year anniversary.
Big time.
It couldn't have been better, man. We couldn't have brought anybody better on here to
Come
talk.
on.
And Steve Morris.
Just the beginning.
The
yeah.
man.
Steve
This
Morris.
is just the
Appreciate
beginning.
you.
3-time Natty champ. He was
Yeah.
so nonchalant
Yeah.
about it, but
Come
like
on. I appreciate
Humble.
that.
3-time.
Humble brag.
A humble king.
I don't blame him though, bro.
Yeah. And I wasn't always this way.
A humble king.
It's good, man. I love it.
I'll tell you he wasn't.
Proud
I
of
can
y'all.
vouch. I've
I'm
seen
proud
it.
of y'all. Yeah.
Proud of you, bro.
Putting
For real.
people in a blender. Yeah. You know? It's
man.
good.
It comes through a lot of humility, though, with the Lord. The
Man,
Lord's work,
listen,
man.
amen. He
He'll be the
works on
quickest to humble
everybody.
you.
Listen, he
Yeah.
works on everybody.
He works on everybody
Wish I could
in
share
different
the good-
ways.
Let me tell you about my Lord and Savior.
Yeah. we could talk for a whole nother hour about
Man,
that, man,
listen.
because
Oh,
it's a
come
roller
on.
coaster.
Come on.
I think, honestly, one of the craziest journeys is faith.
For sure.
No, I
For sure.
agree.
But we'll save that for the next
Yeah,
one.
Yeah, we could say it for
Once we
next
start
month.
going,
Keep
bro, I
saying it.
promise
Yeah,
we'll
we
keep
keep
talking.
saying it.
Yeah.
Might start crying.
But seriously, man, thank you so much for coming down here. We really appreciate it. And thank you to
course.
all the listeners for tuning in. As you guys know, new episodes every single Tuesday, as long as Wi-Fi is permitting, right? Thank you so much for listening, watching, viewing, and subscribing. Thank you for tuning in and taking one more step on this journey with us. As always, we love you, appreciate
guys.
you, and we'll catch you on the next one. Peace.
Peace.
Let's go. That was good, man. That's money.
Appreciate
How do
y'all.
you feel, brother?
Man, it feels good, man.